Michael, have you ever had a bad audition?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Just awful. Oh my. And you know the terrible thing is that stays with you. What we do is based on confidence anyway. You go in the room and you're confident, but when you just miss it entirely, it takes about 3 or 4 more auditions to get your confidence back up. And I've also been hired off bad auditions. You know, where I walked out of the room going, "Oh, Mickey, what did you do? What did you, what were you thinking?" You know, and it's the ride home where you think of the right thing to say too late, or the right moment. Oh, now I understand that moment. And you know, I don't think it's any different for any of us. The guy who's starting out or the guy who's had tremendous success and is a star. I think there's the nature of what we do it haunts a bit. Yeah, I've had some pretty bad ones. Oof. I wish I could think of one. I'm sure I've, you know, in terms of the specifics of it or block it out. I do remember going in on CSI, with the original CSI, and they had a guy who was who worked the desk at some, you know, ad agency or something. I can't remember what it was, but he was angry. And they said, "We really want you to be angry." Well, you know, nobody has to make me angry. They just have to take the layer off the anger that's already there. So when I gave him the anger, I could feel the room kind of leaning back. And needless to say, I didn't get that job. That didn't go very well. You know, and then there are the times you just chew up the furniture and you can't stop yourself. You know, I often will say now, because I'm seasoned enough to do it, when they stop me or when they start to give me direction before I've had a chance to do what what my instincts have brought me in the room with, let me do one. Let me get this out of my system so that I can hear you well enough to adjust. But right now I've got this, I got to get this out. And they'll let me do it, you know. And most people lose sight of the fact that it's their audition. We still go in the room thinking it's the director and producer and writer's audition. It doesn't belong to them, it belongs to us. I can't do anything about their side of the table. I can make no decisions on their side. I only have one side of the table I can work, but I better own it. I better make sure it's my side of the table. So if I don't like something in the middle of it, or, you know, I need to, did you guys see that? Hey, can we start over? You know what I mean? You do what you have to do. And, but it's mine now. And so I don't mind saying, let me get this out. And then I'll try to do whatever you want. Because if I try to do what they want before I've gotten mine out, it's a mess. It's a train wreck.
So what's your definition, though, of a bad audition? Not just, aside from not getting the part, of course, is it a lack of chemistry with the person you're reading for? Is it somehow the lines were delivered wrong? What do you consider, quote, bombing an audition in your mind?
Well, at the high end of the scale, if I can walk out of the room and do what I intended to do, but also surprise myself, then I've had a really good audition. There's something about that surprise, you know, that I was there, I was present, you know, it happened. But on the other end, when you try to force something, or I'm not listening, I'm not hearing the other person, it has less to do with what they're reading as it does with my ability to hear them. So I'm not really working off of anything. That's not a very good audition because I'm doing everything in one. You know, I think it's, you go in there and you have, it's not that you've slotted it, but you have a sense of what your instinct is about the role. And if you go in there and miss that, somehow or another tighten up, you miss it, then you leave unsatisfied. You just, you feel like, oh my God, I gotta get in the car and I've got to drive 50 miles, which is going to feel like 150 miles, because I've got all this chatter in my head about what I didn't do. And you know, I don't know that ever goes away. You know, I've had those. I've had them. Because I'm out of the city a lot, I tape a lot now. I have to tape and send in. And I'm rarely happy with that process because I like the room so much. The feedback is immediate in the temperature of the room. You can see it in front of you, and I like that. It makes me sharper. It raises the stakes, and I can do it for the camera 6 times and start looking at it going, oh, let's try that again, and then you do it 50 times and you're like, maybe we should go back to the second one we did because that one's a lot better. I don't know that I'm answering your question, I'm sorry, but it's just a sense of being caught and not giving what you know you can give. That's always a frustration. Some of these feel really precious, and particularly if you're not auditioning very much, and I think that's the hardest thing for a young actor, is they only get one audition every 2.5 or 3 months or 4 months, and you can't help it. You go in with it being too precious. You have to trick yourself that it's really not. And how successful you are or aren't with that trick, it does a lot to you in that moment. You've worked in your bedroom, your bathroom, you got up in the middle of the night, you woke somebody up, you try to get them back down, and then you know the drill, you over and over and over again, and you find it. And then you go in and you don't deliver it. And you're just like, I want another bite. Sorry, that train left the station. Done that a lot in my life.